was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie, please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom, boom. I hear and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Hello, and welcome everyone to Peace with Penny. I'm talking today with Khaled Abu Awwad. Like Shaul Judelman, who we had on our first Peace with Penny interview, he helped found Roots Shorashim Judah. Shorashim is roots in Hebrew and Judah in Arabic. And today he is their co-director. It's a peace organization that I've truly grown to love since our fateful trip in 2014. And it is dedicated to building reconciliation and understanding between Israeli settlers and Palestinians in the West Bank. Surprised? Their philosophy is that if you're going to make peace with anyone, you go to where the war is. Being Jewish and loving Israel, I have to admit at times listening to Palestinian experiences and beliefs can sometimes make me uncomfortable for many reasons, and it should. I know today will be no different. Please remember, if you missed any of the episodes of Peace with Penny, they are on pennyst.com under podcasts or the Peace with Penny Facebook page. Khaled Abu Awwad is an award-winning Palestinian peace activist. Given his past history and personal losses, you never would have predicted that today he would work on peace with Israeli settlers. His tragic family story chronicles the inhumane Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the forces that brought him to see the enemy no longer as monsters, but as humans with their own tragic narratives to tell. 2 of Khaled's brothers were killed and his son was maimed. He and many members of his family who were leaders in the First Intifada, including his brother Ali Abu Awwad and his mother Fatma, who was close with Yasser Arafat, spent years in jail. How did he transform his life from being a victim to a survivor? Well, we're about to have the opportunity to hear his story now. Khaled, welcome.
Thank you, Benny. Welcome. Good evening.
Khaled, I know you love kids and your family tradition is to have lots of them. You're married, and in fact, you yourself have 5 boys and 5 girls. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have 13 brothers and sisters.
Wow. Palestinians and many, particularly religious Israelis, I've heard, have huge families. Wow. Your family's always been a prominent Palestinian family. Can you tell me about what it was like growing up in such a family?
To grown as a Palestinian, a son of a Palestinian family, in my age now, I passed a lot of tragedy in our region because of the conflict that we have here. My family's story starts since 1948. The first meeting between my family and the conflict is start when they forced to leave their village Kubeba in 1948. So they move to live in the Hebron area in Khaled Afana, which is called Gush Etzion nowadays, and until 1967. And in the Six-Day War in 1967, they left Khaled Afan to Jordan because of the Six-Day War. We spent there for around 10 to 12 days. Then my father decided to come back to Palestine and to start for the third time building the house and a new place for our family.
Wow. I know that usually when we think of Palestinian culture, we think of it as a very male-dominant culture. Yet your mother was a very strong woman and was close to Yasser Arafat and played a leadership role in the First Intifada with other members of your family. Can you talk about what the First Intifada was like and her and your family's role in it?
The First Intifada started in 1987. Before that, that days, we have been treated by the Israel Army and the Israel Blue Police and all the Israel security system in a very ugly and bad way. In the checkpoint, you have to raise up your hands. You have to, you can be bitten by the soldiers, everything. So 1987, when the First Intifada started, and for me, as on that days, I have been in the age of 19, 20. But I've seen that the women, the Palestinian women, took a very main position leading this intifada. It's not only our mother Fatima. A lot of other women have been in the high position leading the first intifada. Actually, they play a main position, how to manage, how to lead, how to give orders. They are very clever. They are very strong. They have a strong personality, and they have a strong belong to their nationality, to their nation. So she's in our family. Our mother Fatma consider our leaders, and when the Intifada started, she's the one who lead everything in the family and have the connection with Yasser Arafat and with the PLO leadership. And she's been a very known and very famous woman in all the Palestinian area.
When you were growing up, did you believe in violence to achieve your goals?
At the beginning, yes. When you born as a son of a Palestinian family that have been losing our land, our village for the first time, and our second station, our second house, and we have to build it for the third time. Of course, you are asking yourself all the time, who caused this to me, to my family? And of course, it's the clear answer is Israel, the Israel people, the Israel state, the Jewish people, and you start thinking, you start looking to them as an enemy, that you have to fight them, you hate them. There is no place for both of us. It's we or them, and we have to fight until the end. this is how we grown, and really this is how we react to all what happened to us as a Palestinian family.
So did you see any difference between Israelis and Jews at that time?
No. Also nowadays, it's like most of the Palestinian people look to the Jewish and to the Israel as the same. There's no big difference. We who do research and who have been interested to understand the Jewish and the Jewish culture and the Jewish history, and to understand the difference between Israel and the Jewish and the Judaism. We know the difference, but at that time, no. In our eyes, it's the same.
Who lives now in your first village at Al Kubiba? I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Kubeba, sorry. Who lives there now?
It's empty. No one lives there. There's only the symptoms where the houses have been. My grandfather's house and all my uncle's house and the family. No one living there. They call it nowadays Tal Kubeba. It's empty. Near to this place, there is Amatia, there is Lachish. These Jewish villages.
When your mom was in jail and Ali was in jail, you were in jail for 18 months yourself. How old were you?
It's in 1988. I have been in the age of 19, 20 years old at that age.
And you were put in jail because of your what activities?
Because I'm part of Fatah movement. At that time, Fatah movement have been considered a terrorist movement, and to be belong to it, it's you in the Israel law, you are going against the law, and you can be judged for between 6 months to whatever they can decide.
And I know Ali's transformation, a lot of it happened because he and your mother went on a hunger strike to see one another, and he had been studying Martin Luther King and different peace activists and learned about nonviolence, and he's always said that that was the first time that he saw that nonviolence could work, because he was allowed to see your mom. And I was wondering what brought about your thinking that violence wasn't the best way.
Listen, our first intifada, it's not a violence intifada at the beginning. It started as a national intifada. All the people, all the Palestinian people, we went out to fight or to demonstrate against the occupation with stones and closing the roads and firing wheels. This is what we used to. And in my eyes, it's not a violence intifada. It's a resistant people, the Palestinian people resistance, and we've seen that it's very powerful, because all the countries all over the world, they respect us, they support us. They've been very with our resistance, and I think what's happened in 1993, the peace agreement, is one of the main results of this intifada. Now, for Ali spent more than me in the jail. He spent 4 years. Mm-hmm. And he didn't get the opportunity to study at school, to finish his study. out. So he continued that in the jail. And he read a lot. I know that he read a lot about the nonviolence resistance in different places in the world. And he went out of the jail after 1993, when the peace agreement had been signed. So he went out and gather. We all, as a family, we we have been in a place that we decide that we do our job. Now we have to live as all the Palestinian people and waiting for the leader, the Palestinian leadership and the Israeli leadership to bring us the peace by continue the negotiation and the steps of the peace agreement is step by step. So this is what's happened to us as a family until 2000, the 16th of November 2000, the day that Yusuf have been killed.
Yes.
We have been busy to live as any other family. We stop our resistance. We support the peace agreement. We support the solution. And we have been waiting for the end of the occupation and starting a new life as Palestinian in freedom with our country and our authority. And this is what we have been dreaming for. And not to see more the checkpoint, not to see more political arrestment of the people, not to see more house demolitions, not to see more the Israel soldier moving inside our villages everywhere. These things is what represent the occupation in our life and in our eyes, in our mind. So as I mentioned, until 2000. In 2000, when the Israel army shot my brother Yusuf, 16th of November 2000, 6:30 p.m. inside the village of Beit Umar, where we are living nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
And they kill him.
What happened?
It's like Yusuf, who drive my car inside the village, and he faced with a group of soldiers that they entered to the village of Beit Umar, and of course the kids of the village faced them with the stones, and the soldiers stopped the cars, all the Palestinian cars, in between them and the kids. So Yusuf went out of his car and they asked the kids of Beit Umar to stop throwing stones because it's damaged the car. They respect this and they stop, which make one of the soldiers became very angry, and he started talking with Yusuf in a very ugly way and running to his direction. While Yusuf asking him why you are speaking with me like this, he also start throwing stone to his car, to Yusuf's car.
The soldier?
The soldier, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the soldier have been very angry because of I don't know why, but this is what's happened. And at the end, the soldier ran to Yusuf's direction and he put the gun on his head and he shot him from a space of 75 centimeters from his head, and he killed him. The general there, the Israel general, he took the soldier, he pushed him. What do you do to me? What do you do to me? Like he became angry and he took the whole group of soldiers out of the village. For us as a family, it's like we've been waiting for peace, for change to good in our life. And instead of this, to have this happen to Yusuf, one of us have been killed by by Israel, by the occupation. This is make us start thinking again. What's going on here? Where's the peace? And here it's like you have a feeling of responsibility to move the things, the stacking things. Like this should not be happened. There is something to do, but what to do we don't know. To return and to fight, to have another intifada, it's not. We don't know if this is the right thing or not, because we accept, we respect the peace agreement, and we are very hopeful to have this change, and we trust our Palestinian leadership, but what's going on the ground? Those victims and this violence is not right. How we can stop it? Some of the people start blaming us, Palestinian people, that we choose the wrong way by supporting the peace with Israel. Those people didn't. They are not. They don't understand the language of peace. The only way that they can understand is the violence way, and you make a mistake about Awad's family by choosing the support the peace. Some of the people, others they came and they support us and they stand with us in our suffering after what's happened to Yusuf, and later when we have been looking for the direction, and when we got the opportunity to meet with people from the other side, and I think it's the first time for us as a family that we are listening to the narrative of the other side, to the story from the other side of the map. And you've seen that this violence and this situation is affect the life of all of us negatively, and we should understand this, and we can together be more strong, more powerful to change it. When you listen to the stories from the other side, you recognize that it's not as you think, that they all your enemy and they are like a monster, and they are not human. The opposite. You find people who support your right, understand your pain, your suffering, and they are ready to stand with you strongly and together to go and to do the maximum to change this situation.
First of all, I am so sorry about Yosef, but is that when Yitzhak Frankenthal came to see you? Was it? Yeah.
And another 6 or 7 Israel bereaved families.
Can you tell that story, please?
It's like they ask to come and to bring their solidarity to us as a family. In the beginning, we refused, because in our eyes, when this soldier shot my brother, the first reaction that you look to the whole Jewish in the world, to the whole Israel Jewish people, like they are your enemy. They all kill your brother. And when you start going down and you start to be more thinking and try to understand the fact, And during this time, he asked to come and to visit us because he lost his son on this conflict. So they came to our house in Beit Umar. We sat in a circle. We tell them what's happened to us as a family, what's happened to Yusuf, and how the soldier killed my brother Yusuf. And they've shown a lot of solidarity and understand. And then every one of them have a story similar to our story. One of them, she's a mother from Telmont. She tells the story of her 13 years old daughter that have been killed in a suicide bomb in Dizengoff Center. And when she tell about her daughter and how she have been a very peaceful girl, she writes her in a book, in a dirty book, a lot of good things about all different kinds of human beings. And she mentioned us as Palestinian and the Palestinian people, like she's loving the Palestinian people, she respects the Palestinian people, and she became a victim of this conflict, which make all of us, especially me, looking to what's going on in, like, this is unbelievable. We cannot accept that these things continue to be happening in our life. We should stop this. Since that time, since that meeting, you start looking to the whole facts from both sides, and we start to understand the reality in a different way. Like, it's not us them. It's not that they all our enemy. It's like we have the majority of the Palestinian and the Israel people. They want to live in peace, and they are ready to join each other, to support each other, and together changing this reality. And we start going on this way, starting by being the Palestinian partners with Frankenthal to establish the PCFF, the Parent Circle Family Forum. Right. And I have been there for 9 years, 10 years. And then we established the Way Al-Tariq, which is a Palestinian movement that believe in nonviolence, and training a lot of Palestinian youth and the youngest how to resist in a non-violence way. And we continue until what's happened before 7 years, when Ali started Roots. I've been with him at the beginning, and then he continued, and I have been busy. And later, after 2 years or 1.5 years of establishing the movement, or the initiative, they asked me if I can take a position there, and in the management of the Palestinian side of the initiative. And yes, that's what's happening.
Wow. Actually, Robbie Damelin and Layla Elshek who are from Parents Circle Family Forum, are going to speak as well. But I mean, Yusuf died, and then 2 years later, your other brother also was he was wounded and then died after 10 days.
10 days.
How did that happen?
Well, the story of Said until now, we don't know what exactly happened. All what we know that in the 26th of February 2002, I think it's happened 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning when he went from my mother's house to the shop to buy something. And in the entrance of the market, he had been shooting from the road 60, where there is an army tunnel there, and we don't know exactly why and what's happened.
Mm.
There is no demonstration. There is nothing, no violent things. Nothing happened there. It's just someone, one of the soldiers shot him. He spent 10 days in El Maqasid hospital, and then he died. He passed away.
So, but you know it was a soldier?
Yeah, of course. He had been shooting from the direction of the road 60, the army tunnel. There's no other, there's no Palestinian there to shoot.
You've had so many tragedies. Even your son was wounded. How did that happen?
Maya, in 2004, when Yasser Arafat, after Yasser Arafat passed away, the day that they bring Yasser Arafat back to his final destiny. So there's all the Palestinian cities and villages everywhere in the Palestinian area. We went out, and especially the youth, they went out to demonstrate for the death of Arafat. It's not against Israel. It's something that like we are angry that we lose this unique leader. And at that day, my son, Muayyad, who have been 16 years old, or 15 or 16, between 15 to 16 years old, he had been out with the kids inside the village. And we know that the Israel army orders the whole army not to shoot, not to be close to Palestinian demonstration, because this is not against Israel. This is a kind of, and within these orders, Mishmar Gvul, what we call it, Mishmar Gvul group, they went inside to the village and they start shooting the youth. And one of them have been my son. He have been in a high danger of his life. And then we move him to Hadassah Hospital. And he have been in a surgery for 9 hours. And then he spent 2 months there. I've been with him, and it's like affect his life. He became handicapped until the end of his life. The moment that those soldiers shot my son, at that time I have been in the parent circle. I've been in a place called Gesher Zif in the north of the West Bank. It's an Israel Jewish school, kids in the age of my son, with my partner at that time, Boaz Kitain, who have been giving a lecture about reconciliation and peace between Palestinian and Israel. The moment that the head of the school, the manager of the school, came to us, and he asked my partner Boaz to stop the lecture. And he took him away from me, and he told him that, ask Khalid to start moving to his village because his son have been in jail, and he is in a high danger. His life in a danger. So Boaz came to me and he told me that my son have been shooting, but he's okay. It's not dangerous. And he said the sentence in front of the kids. You know, at that moment, to hear that your son have been shooting and you don't know what's happening exactly. It's this moment in my mind, in my eyes. It's a moment of testing yourself, how strong you are standing behind what you believe and what you are telling to the others.
Sure.
So my partner Boaz told the kids that we are here to give you a hope, and there is someone else in a different place who's shooting and killing the hope. At that moment, I have been in my way out. I return back. I stand again in front of the class, and because what my partner Boaz said, it's like this is not my message to those kids, to those youth. I said, whatever will happen to my son, what I'm doing here, what I'm telling you is the only way that can bring us to live in peace, and to go on this way, we need this hope. Whatever happened to my son, my message to all of you, don't lose the hope. We will continue, whatever will happen. And then I went out and I start my way back to Beit Umar, to my son. And I met him in Jerusalem, actually, in Hadassah, because it took me more than 2.5 hours to go back.
I understand part of what helped you also was how he was treated at the hospital, and even at the scene, an Israeli woman tried to help. It's tragedy, so much tragedy, and yet here you are continuing working on Roots. Let's talk about your wonderful work at Roots, because that's really something extremely positive. And can you explain a little bit about the goals of Roots and what you're trying to achieve there between Israelis and Palestinians?
Roots, in my eyes, doing the most important thing that should be done between the two people of us. Because my belief is we cannot have peace without passing a process of reconciliation. Reconciliation because the history and all what's happened since 1948 and before is making the gap between both of us very big. And there's a lot of hatred. And there's a reason for this. There's no trust between both of us. And what we need is to work on these things. Fear, a lot of fear. We don't trust each other. We are afraid from everything that came from the other side, both of us. Mm-hmm. So in order to make the two people ready to accept, to support, to make the peace agreement work between us, they need to pass through this process of reconciliation. And one of the main things on this way is the meeting between the two people. It's very important to understand the identity, the culture, the history, everything, in order to start trusting the other one. Start decrease your fear and be more strong to have a decision, to support a decision, to give a trust. So this is what we are doing. Why with settlers? Because I think that most of the peace NGOs, they are working with people from different places, but not with the soldier. And we know a lot of violence happened in the West Bank between the Palestinian and the settlers. The settlers. And in roots, we are looking that we believe that we can change this by meeting, by bringing the two people in the West Bank to meet, to start giving who are you and what you want, and looking to the other one as a human being. And I think this is very important. Yes, it's important to talk with people from Tel Aviv, but it's more important to talk with the extreme right wing of the Israel society, to open a discussion, to open a kind of understand between both of us. Because in my eyes, this is the last gate that's still closed. Some of the people say, listen, this is cannot go with the Oslo agreement. Maybe, but not exactly. We also respect Oslo agreement. And we think that Oslo agreement make a lot of good things. But we think that in Oslo, they care more about the land than the human being, than the people who live on this land. And because of this, it's still stuck since 27 years ago until now. We think we should work and care about the people who live on this land more. Of course, in roots, we believe in two-state solution. We don't believe that the land should be divided. We should find a kind of solution, how we can allow the whole Palestinian people and the whole Israel people living everywhere, but their belong is to their state. Yes, we believe that we should have the Palestinian state, the Palestinian Authority, and the Israel people should have and achieve their dream of having the Israel state. These two facts should be happened. And every one of the two people belong to his nationality, to his authority, to his leader.
Do you know about how many people have gone through your programs?
Oh, a lot. Every year we have.
Since 2014, right?
2040, 2060. It started 2014.
Right.
But we have in our we met with more than 30,000 people in our center.
30,000
people.
Holy moly!
More than 35,000 people who came to our center and listened to our initiative, to what we believe. Both of us, Israel and Palestinian. And
And how do the Palestinians react to the fact that you're working with Roots?
It's not easy to understand what we are doing. I think more the leader, some of the Palestinian leader, they understand what we are doing, and in some way they support us. Because, we have also a high percentage of the Palestinian leadership, they start believing in the one-state solution, which is not us. We're still talking about two-state solution, but it's like not to divide the land. Like we have a sentence, we say, the whole area of Palestine, historical Palestine, is belong to the Palestinian people, and the whole area of the Israel state is belonging to the Israel people, which means that every Palestinian have the right to live wherever he wants. Every Israel can live wherever he wants, and we still have two states. We have the Palestinian state. They will have their Israeli state, and this is, I think, in my eyes, this is the only way that we can solve this problem. Because in the reality, to divide and to change area here and there and then this, and to move the people from here to here, I don't believe that this will work.
So what kind of transformations have you seen in the people who participate in your programs?
I think all the initiatives that the people hear or listen to is bring them to a kind of that there is no solution, no hope. And when they listen to us, when they listen to our initiative, to our idea, I think we bring the hope back to those people. I've seen a lot of people who, and when they listen to our idea and going deeply to what we believe, they became very involved in what we are doing. Serious persons of people, they became members. Like we started in the area of between Gush Etzion and Khalid Afane, and then in the Jordan Valley, and then in the Nablus area. And all this happened because the people became very interested to what we are saying and what we are doing, and they've seen with what we are doing is something different, something that they can believe. It's not impossible to have a solution.
So you have Palestinians and you have Israeli settlers. And is it a weeks-long program or a series? How does it work?
What do you mean?
Well, I can imagine the first meetings with the Palestinian people who come and the Israeli settlers. You know, it's not quickly to change their mind.
It's not easy. Anyone who came for the first time, when they've seen, it's not only settlers. Well, it's like
Right.
to see a religious Jewish person with this different shape of hair and kippah, these things. It's like it's not easy. And step by step, when they sit and when they start listening, and when this religious person start talking and bringing, and when they feel that he's in a place where he respects them and he understand and support their right, all the things start to be open, and they've seen on this meeting something different and important, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. For some people, it took them 2 or 3 meetings until they start to be open and to give a kind of trust with the other side. But most of the people, through this process, they became a serious believer with what we are doing.
Yes. Yeah. I live over here and you all got to me. So what you do is so powerful in so many ways. What happens, because unfortunately where you live, there's so much ugliness always going on. What happens when different incidents happen with your meetings and such?
Listen, what we are doing is to change the reality. Of course, we know that what we are, our reality is very hard. In our daily life, we face a lot of pain, a lot of violence, and this is the reason that we do what we are doing. So it's happened many times that during our meetings we hear about something that happened in somewhere in our area or in other areas, and immediately what our answer to the people that because of this, we are doing what we are doing. This meeting is here to change the reality. So we are trying to empower the people, not to let the reality blocking them, just to continue and to do what we are doing in order to change this reality, in order to change the future of all of us.
You not only meet together and try to listen to one another's narratives, but when things happen that you feel are unfair, your people actually get involved. Could you talk about a couple of examples of how Roots has gotten involved?
Yeah, we are trying also. In one of what we are trying to do is to help the people with what's going on in their daily life. For example, if someone got an order that they are coming to demolish his house, we are going and we support them. When they when a young youth Khalid from Beit Umar have been shooting, and the army hold his body, we fight to bring back the body of this guy to his family. When the people came to work in their land, and other settlers or army stand and not allowing them, we are going and we support those people to reach their land and to work in their land. In everything, we are trying to convince for example, the army to allow building a Palestinian house, to allow the Palestinians to build houses in Area C, which is under the Israel control, the Israel security control. We are trying the maximum that we can to support the people in their daily life. The same time, what we are doing for reconciliation between the two people.
Right, and but you also you named a number of things where you're trying to help Palestinians, but also you help Israelis when things happen, and for instance, when someone's hurt or killed, that you go and support the family in those situations as well.
Of course. We are looking to all the people of our area. It's the same. Anything happen to anyone, for us, we refuse all kinds of violence against the others. And when anything happened to any family, never mind if it's a Palestinian or an Israel family, a Jewish or a Muslim family, we are going immediately and we support them, and we bring our solidarity and our support and our refuse to what's happened to them. And yeah.
So what's happening because of
COVID-19?
Yeah, well, in two regards. One, what's going on with your programs because of COVID, and then I'd love to hear your, there's over here we hear the big controversy of what we read. The PA didn't want to accept vaccinations from Israel. They went to Russia, they went to other countries, and Israel has received a lot of criticism previously for not vaccinating the Palestinians, although now they, as I understand it, are vaccinating Palestinians who work in Israel. So there's two questions. One, what happens with your programs because of what's been going on? with COVID? And number two, what is your belief about the vaccinations and who's responsible and who should be helping the Palestinians with the vaccinations?
What's happened to our work during the COVID-19 time since March 2000 when it started? It's like all the face-to-face meeting have been stopped until now. Actually, just 1.5 months we start meeting in a small groups, few people. But before, most of our meetings have been done through the Zoom application. We continue to meet. We continue to have groups through Zoom. We continue to manage and to lead and to do the things through Zoom. But it's not the same as when you meet face to face. So 1.5 months, we start to go back. Today we decide that the meeting between the youth and the women and all the different groups should start step by step in a small groups in an open space. Yeah, we didn't stop. We didn't allow the COVID-19 to stop us. There's political issues around the vaccination between Israel and the PA. I don't know exactly what's going on there, and I'm not involved in this. And I hope that they will start to have a good cooperation between both of them, Israel and Palestine. Not only for solving the vaccination conflict, also the main conflict.
Yeah.
I hope that our election in the Palestinian side will bring a kind of change that can give more power to the negotiation and to the peace process. I hope.
Yeah. So what are 3 lessons that you've learned from working on peace?
First, the most strong thing that we can, the most strong weapon that we can have in our life is to believe in the humanity and in the peaceful reaction and not violence. Secondly, not to generalize. Like when something happened, don't blame all the people. Blame or try to surround it in the person or the one who do the action or the things. Thirdly, whatever happened, I think hope is an important thing in our life. We should continue hope that the best can happen.
Do you think we're moving toward peace or away from peace at this time?
I think we are stuck. We are not going anywhere, not far and not to the direction of peace. I think we are stuck. We are stopping. We are freezing in a point. I hope that I'm optimist that after the election we will move to the direction of having peace or to the peace.
Which election or both? It's so complicated there. There's nothing that's ever just easy. But what do you think it's going to take new leaders or what?
At least it will bring a kind of change. At least I'm sure that will happen, especially in the parliament level, and it's important for us. I think I think it's an important step especially after 16 years of stucking in without having any change politically in the Palestinian side, in between us as Palestinian people, and between Hamas and Fatah and Gaza and the West Bank. And I hope and I pray to God that this election will open or will help the people of Gaza to go out of this big jail that they have been arrested inside. I know that the people in Gaza suffer a lot, and I hope that this election will stop their suffering and will help them also, and will help us also.
Do you think the violence will stop? What would cause the violence to finally stop?
Penny, the violence will not stop at all. Not only here, everywhere. Of course, all the time, everywhere. In my eyes, those are the weak people that they cannot control their anger, their hatred, and they let this anger and hatred lead them to react in a violent way against human being. Whatever their reason, whatever their explanation, it's not acceptable in my eyes. I think we reach a level as a human being nowadays to understand that everything can be solved by meeting, by talking, by being patient and waiting and looking for the right person or the right leader or the right group in order to solve the problems. Be strong means not to be a violent person. Violence
Amen.
is the weapon of the weak people. Only the weapon of the weak people.
Do you think that peace will happen in your lifetime?
I don't know how long I still have to live.
Right.
Uh,
Let's hope for good things.
I hope that the symptoms of peace will start during my life, in order to feel that for my they'll be better than me.
Yeah. Always our kids, we want to live better than us. I wanted to ask as my final question of you before I end, if you were speaking to the people of the world, what would the message be that you'd want them to know about your work and your community?
My message to the people in the world, that if wherever they can support not only us, all these kinds of activities that taking care about the human being and the humanity. I hope that my message is do that. And if there's a conflict and you from overseas want to give an opinion, give something that can help. Don't be pro this or pro this. People, the solution and the goodness between the people everywhere, especially for us, Palestinian and Israel. Support both of us to achieve peace in our region and not to fight. Thank you very much.
So thanks so much, Khaled, for sharing both your tragic and truly inspirational experiences with us. Let me say this has been great listening to the peace work that Khaled and Ruth Shorashim Juder does. This was the last episode of Peace with Penny for this season. We will be taking a 2-week break during the Jewish high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We'll be back on September 21st at our usual 11 a.m. Pacific time. We're starting off the new season with an exciting first interview with Huda Aberkab. She is the first on-the-ground regional director of the Alliance for Middle East Peace, or ALMEP, a network of more than 100 civil society organizations working in conflict transformation, development, and coexistence in the Middle East among Palestinians, Israelis, Arabs, and Jews. She has years of experience in conflict transformation, NGO leadership, and social change, education, and activism, as well as a lifelong commitment to building strong people-to-people relations across conflicts. We hope you'll join us. To our listeners, thank you. No matter what holidays you celebrate, or even if you don't, let me end with a New Year's wish of Shana Tova, a wish for a healthy and happy New Year for you and your family. And as always, may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.